Hello, welcome to the Trews election special with me, Russell Brand, and Dr. Brad Evans. Hey, Doctor.
Hey.
Sorry for calling you a doctor in a situation like this. We're going to try and understand this election. Let's have a close look at the moment where Theresa May told us there was going to be yet another election.
I have just chaired a meeting of the Cabinet where we agreed that the government should call a general election.
She's doing it in a way like it's... we were just talking before, Brandon. It sounds like, oh, I've just chaired this meeting. We've all sat down. We're really serious. We've really talked about this. Why is that? To make it sound like it's all been really well considered?
Yeah, and also there's some kind of imminence to this, right? There's like a sense of, actually, all the stuff I said previously, new circumstances have come to light and it's an emergency and we need to kind of rethink this whole thing.
Oh yeah,
through.
that's right, because there was this time when they're saying there's not going to be an election, wasn't there? In fact, here is Theresa May saying there's not going to be an election.
I'm not going to be calling a snap election.
All right, but this is sort of an election, isn't it? Yeah, kind of a change of mind. Is it significant that there's a helicopter overhead to sort of create this sense that we're in this terrifying dystopian wars? I've just chaired a meeting. There's SAS coming down.
I have just chaired a meeting of the Cabinet.
Can you see as well how dramatically lit? I don't think I recall seeing a politician so sort of incredibly dramatically lit, like a vampire's niece. There's a real gravitas and drama to this, isn't there, Brad?
Absolutely. It kind of reminds me of when Thatcher was announcing the Falklands War. It has a sense of the drama, and as you say, the helicopter adds to the whole sense of the emergency of the situation. And of course, what it does say to the public is, don't you forget the stakes are really high.
I want to explain the reasons for that decision, what will happen next, and the choice facing the British people when you come to vote in this election.
There is this sort of sense of gravitas and fear, but that fear, I think, is something that a lot of us are feeling. I think a good many people are saying, like, bloody hell, I don't even want to be engaged with this anymore. Like that clip of that Brenda from Bristol was delightful.
Not another one? Oh, for God's sake, I can't stand this.
I think a lot of us sort of feel like that, but like we're suddenly being expected to accept that what this is a moment, or yet another moment of sort of significance and importance, when really all it is about the consolidation of power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the way it's presented, and even the tone of her voice is like, this is now a definitive moment of truth in the life of the nation. Whereas actually what we know it's a complete fabrication. Right? I think fabrication has now become the default setting for myself, certainly, until proven otherwise, because we know the lies upon which we're given. And in this sense, she's presenting it as this is the new truth and the new reality of politics, despite everything I've said previously, and I'm not undermining my indignity in any way.
This is how I feel as well, that we know that they're lying. They know that they're lying. It's this sort of treacherous wheel of understanding that we're dealing with, as you said before, a spectacle.
Despite predictions of immediate financial and economic danger, since the referendum we have seen consumer confidence remain high, record numbers of jobs.
One of the things that I particularly object to with when I'm watching politicians orate is when they blatantly tell me stuff that I can tell's not true from my experience of the world. Like where now she's just going, things have been brilliant since I've been Prime Minister. It's great now, and my hair isn't being blown into an unfortunate style by this wind. What is that? Why do they do that, and how do they get away with it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, when we have politics in the age of the spectacle, it all becomes complete soundbite. And as you say, on the one hand, the media will present this stuff as being a truth, even though we all know it's a fabrication. And you only have to walk around any city over the last 5 years and notice the massive difference in the levels of homeless people in any city in the UK. We know this is a fabrication, but the trouble is, we know that all politicians are engaged in these very types of fabrications. So where is the alternative in a world where, at least, 30 years ago, politicians used to put a great deal of effort into trying to deceive you. Now they just simply lie.
They can't even be bothered to deceive us properly. Don't trust your own judgment, those homeless people that you're tripping over, and all this fear and terror everywhere. Listen to this stuff I'm saying under a helicopter in a bit too much of a harsh light.
And economic growth that has exceeded all expectations.
Yeah, whose expectations? Not my expectations. I was hoping everything was going to be really nice and we were all going to be kind and fair to one another. We wouldn't dismantle the NHS, and that we would preside over an era of peace and kindness. Oh, no, we've not done that.
We have also delivered on the mandate that we were handed by the referendum result. Britain is leaving the European Union, and there can be no turning back.
That's sounds like a sort of a parroting of a Thatcher phrase as well. The ladies not for turning. She said there must be a sort of a self-consciousness for a female leader where there is a precedent set by Margaret Thatcher that there's a particular way of appearing. How much of this do you think becomes performance?
Well, it's it plays directly into the politics of performativity, but the way in which, as you say, the presence in herself, there's a very assuredness of this. But anybody who makes such a final statement about politics, there is no turning back. Europe's over. That should terrify anybody with any remote sense of history.
Yes, it does feel sort of scary for me, and I don't have a remote sense of history. I find it I find it terrifying, and also like it feels like that continually we're invited to take part in referenda that have either negative consequences or no discernible consequences, and very seldom have a positive consequence for the majority of people.
The government has the right plan for negotiating our new relationship with Europe. We want a deep and special partnership.
Ugh. I don't want a deep and special partnership with anybody. The absolute source.
Between a strong and successful European Union and a United Kingdom that is free to chart its own way in the world.
That discourse is absolutely terrifying because it plays back to some old romantic idea of colonisation. What was colonialism if not charting our way in the world?
Oh my God, it's a nautical piece of language. I didn't even recognise that. We're charting. Right, we'll have India back and all.
That means we will regain control of our own money.
Our own money, like our money's just been swooshing about, doing its own thing, jitterbugging around. Pound coins have got numerous sides now. It's better already.
Our own laws and our own borders. And we will be free to strike trade deals with old friends and new partners all around the world.
Is this deliberately reductive and simplified language about old friends and new partners?
Yeah, but even the term again, we're free to strike. It's a very militaristic kind of narrative.
You're right. Do you think there's significance in do they belabour the linguistics here? Do they go like, no, use the word strikes. No, we're not going to set up trade agreements. Why don't we cook up a trade agreement? Or yeah.
Well, she could even say negotiate, right? And negotiate would have been a bit more, well, it might go well, it might not go well, but we're striking the deal.
Ooh, we've struck that, and so even if it doesn't work, at least the other person's got a bloody nose.
This is the right approach, and it is in the national interest. But the other political parties oppose it.
So what is actually happening is that we're being presented with a general election at a time where there is a sort of a sense of fatigue when kind of, I guess, Theresa May and their Conservative Party are relatively certain that what this will lead to is the consolidation of their power, a greater majority and a mandate to head in that direction. Another thing that's worth noting is that UKIP have been kind of, it seems to me, sort of absorbed into the Conservative Party. It doesn't seem as much of a need for UKIP anymore. It seems like now you've got your UKIP. UKIP has become like the Conservative.
Well, the Conservative Party made the UKIP redundant. They occupied the ground in which UKIP were kind of occupying. And it's kind of interesting, Nigel Farage now kind of edged his bets and kind of said, well, actually, I've got more job security by remaining in Europe.
Bloody hell, the nerve of the man. Well, there you go, there's your Brexit, there's your next election. What do we right-minded, normal people do? Brad? Can you not summarise that in 10 seconds?
I don't think so. Rethink the political in more loving ways.
But let's rethink the political in more loving ways. And if you want to know more about what that potentially vague statement means, listen to Under the Skin with Brad and I, where we discuss those topics in greater detail. Thank you, Dr. Brad. I appreciate that. I think I'm going to call you Dr. Brad now. Is that okay?
That's fine.
True News. Subscribe here.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some trews. Let's have some trews.